Welcome to a very special episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where today we are joined by a very, very special guest. But before we introduce who that is, I first want to, of course, say hello to Hjalmar.
Greetings.
Yes, greetings, sir, and, of course, not to forget Craig.
Hi.
Hello, Craig. And the special guest is none other than Tom from Fear of a Black Dragon, the Emmy Award-winning old-school role-playing podcast that I'm a big fan of. Welcome, Tom.
Oh, hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
We're really happy to have you with us, Tom. Just saying that.
Yes, indeed. Absolute pleasure. Really excited. I hope I don't die too quickly.
Well.
It's OSR. No one dies in OSR, right? So, can you say a few words about Fear of a Black Dragon for those of our listeners who are not familiar with it?
Oh, sure. It's a podcast, and it's about old school role-playing games, the definition of which, of course, is a little fuzzy sometimes, but we do our best. And what Jason, my co-host, and I do is every episode we look at a different adventure or sometimes setting book and break it down into its component parts, describe it, what we liked about it, what we're a little iffy on. And then we try and find some interesting theme or central nugget or topic that's to do with it and explore that in greater depth, which is the sort of more general, maybe GM advice or playstyle advice section of the thing. And then finally we come up with what we call the companion adventures, which are media recommendations of books you might want to read, films to watch, music to listen to really steep yourself in the atmosphere and genre of the adventure in question. And so it's usually either older D&D modules or things from the fantasy OSR, but we sometimes will head into science fiction or cyberpunk or something like that if we deem it sufficiently old school to be worth, or rather, to fall under the remit of Fear of a Black Dragon.
Indeed. And today we will be looking at a module, one of the early Dungeons & Dragons modules, and it's from the year 1984, which is the year when I was born. What is it that we're going to be playing today, Tom?
Well, we are going to be playing The Veiled Society, which is a city-based adventure. I think one of the earlier city-based adventures, at least for officially for D&D from TSR. And, I don't want to give too much away, but you'll encounter warring factions inside a kind of, like a medieval city-state kind of place, and get involved in some civil disturbances and daring do, and actually that's kind of all that happens, because it's a quite short adventure, although the page count might lead you to believe differently. But the back end of this book, for reasons I'm not entirely clear on, mainly contain cut out and fold together model paper houses that you're meant to use with miniatures to set the scene in the town. But since we're playing this online, I'm afraid that will not be happening tonight. Sorry.
I'm very sad about that. That was a very, very fascinating part of this module, I have to say. Very interesting to see what TSR was trying out there. And yes, well, without further ado, I suppose, why don't you take us in, lead us into the adventure, Tom?
Oh, with very great pleasure. Okay, so let's see. Now, the setting for this adventure is the city of Specularum, and we will begin with your characters arriving on the fringes of that fine town. Now, this is the capital city of the dukedom of Stefan Karamakos. It's where he lives, along with 5,000 other people. So it's quite a big city by the standards of wherever in Fantasyland this is. It's a city by the sea. It has a big port and a large river slightly to its east. It has a high wall with 24 impressive-looking towers on it. And the castle sits on a craggy, imposing hill overlooking the entire city. Just to the south of the city, I should add, is the Duke's private estate, which you and your companions will have been eyeing, perhaps with an impressed feeling, and perhaps a sense of yearning in comparison to the clogged, busy and dusty road that you are ambling along with a crowd of other people headed for the city. It's very crowded at the moment. It's a hot summer's day, and it seems that some kind of festival is on, and that's why everyone is trying to cram in there today. When you arrive, you'll find the streets are very narrow. It's full of winding, dark alleyways, and There's no sewage system, which becomes obvious as soon as you're downwind of the place. It just has gutters running down the middle of the street. There are domesticated animals, chickens and goats and whatnot, running around in the streets in the poorer areas. And the whole place is positively alive and very much sounds, looks and smells like it as you arrive. And we'll start with you and your companions approaching the city gate, which is manned by a couple of guards with spears and red and blue tabards on. And speaking of which, could you perhaps introduce us to your characters?
Indeed. So I shall today be playing the wizard Serban, who is a rather young female mage. And together with our companions here, we hail from a remote village, which we shall call Blackvale, which is far away. Normally, it's a town that prides itself on its self-reliance, we practice a form of the local religion that is perhaps some might find a little bit heretical. So we generally keep to ourselves, and that's been our thing over the centuries. But this particular year, we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. It is hot, as you say, and there's been a drought in our area, so our farmlands have been devastated, and, well, we're running out of food. So we've had to leave our town behind and send off our most capable and brave people to try to set up some trade, and perhaps even take on some odd jobs to try to earn some coin so that we can keep the town alive until next year's harvest, which will surely be better than this one. So it is myself, Serban, the young female wizard, and who else do we have? Hjalmar, you are playing.
A few steps in front of you goes the old cleric, Niku, from the village Blackvale as well, of course. And as I look at this village in front of us getting ready for festivities, it slightly hurts my heart a little, knowing that our own village would be in similar preparations if it were not for the drought. I am the village priest, very hands-on kind of character, quite muscular. People in the village are not really sure of my past, but it might well be that I have been a soldier at some point. You never expected me to suddenly don that old plate armor that I've been keeping on a stand back home, always immaculately polished. But here we are, all of a sudden, walking together, hoping to find some sort of work at present as our rations are running low.
And I am Theodora, a young, although not as young as Serban, but a young woman nonetheless. I respect my village and I care about the people I'm with, but to be honest with you, I've always wanted to leave, see what else is out there. This was a great opportunity to do so. Of course, I'm happy to help, but I can't help but look around at all this and be intrigued. What opportunities could there be in a place like this? Let's get that money, and who knows, maybe I'll just let the other two go back without me, but let's see how things go. I'm eager for new opportunities.
Yes, and Serban is incredibly excited to be out from the village. She's young and she wants to adventure. She wants to see new things. She's bored with that old town. She's wearing rather elaborate wizard's robes. But the thing that really stands out about her is that half her face is paralyzed, making her visage be one that is rather off-putting. One might even say ugly. But she is capable with the magics, and that is one of the reasons why she has been sent out to join this mission. So, with us as well as a number of other fighters and other capable people, but they will mostly be keeping to the back and focusing on the trading aspect, while the three of us see if we can perhaps find some work in town.
Yes, because I have a little bit of a question for you about your journey, which is, a loaded question, of course, which is to say that, let me see, who shall I ask this of? let's say, Theodora. Now, there was an opportunity on your way here to make a great deal of money and not have to travel all the way to Specularum. But it went wrong somehow. What was that?
That would have been when we were approached by some people to join some mercenary outfit, which I thought sounded quite exciting, but to be honest, Niku did point out that signing contracts is not something you do lightly, and who quite knew where we were actually going to be going. Never mind the intentions of such a mercenary outfit. They all looked slightly untrustworthy individuals, half-orcs and dwarves and men with gruff looks. So we decided not to, which perhaps was for the best, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't.
Oh, well, very good. You see, my follow-up question was going to be, and why do you think that it's Niku's fault that you didn't go through with it? But you seem to have preempted me, so we'll crack on. Yes, the gate is open. As you know, you take turns to go through because the guards are stopping people as they come along. And you can see through the gate now a riot of colour and activity as the street is absolutely packed with people in what looks like their best clothes. You can see some entertainers there as well, jugglers and fire eaters scattered throughout the crowd, and you can hear whistles and drums and people singing and just, being happy.
Ah.
But of course, as you approach, one of the guards in his red and blue tabard says, entering the city, are you?
Yes.
The tax is 8 silver coins for each of you.
8 silver coins just to enter the city? Why is this?
He looks back at his mate who's leaning, on his spear and gives him a smile and goes, it's the tax. Everyone pays it. And you look around, you do see that other people are also handing over coins to go in.
And I think, is this a normal thing? That you would pay this?
It seems a little steep, but it's
Maybe
normal.
it's part of the festivities. I think to myself that hopefully we'll be able to make that money back. We have a little bit, after all. I take out my coin pouch and I pay for the 3 of us for now.
Very good. I'll do the mental arithmetic in my head. Let's call it 2 gold. Round it off. Yes, you do notice that the guard doesn't put all of the silver coins into the collection pouch. A few of them go into his own pouch, but he lets you in, and the rest of your 3 or 4 companions also hand over their cash, and you're into the street. But that's not quite where it finishes. There are sort of a second tranche of guards, and they approach you and look at the weapons that you and your companions are carrying and explain that you must bind your weapons while you're in the town. Anything larger than a dagger, says one of them, it's got to be bound. We'll fine you if you find you've got a weapon that's not tied up. And if you do a killing with an unbound weapon, well. And with that, they start to, he and a couple of other guards, they start to grab, if you've got a sword or whatever, they'll tie it to its scabbard with some leather thongs, spears, or a mace that I think perhaps the cleric has, is wrapped up in cloth and then tied off so that you can't really... mind you, I think a mace would still work with even with padded cloth around it, but the point is largely symbolic.
I would happily offer up my sword, but I'm hoping that my dagger that I keep hidden in my boot maybe doesn't get noticed.
Probably not. They're only looking really for the sort of... what they think of as serious weapons, and not being roguish types, but rather common soldiers. They don't think of knives as something to be seriously feared.
And I have my dagger with me as well. I mean, everyone needs to have a knife. It is a tool for regular people. You cannot be without that. But fortunately, my powers do not require any steel or anything that they can bind. So I look at Niku and I give him a little wink.
Don't give me that face, Serban. You know full well that we need something to cut the cheese with.
Of course, High Priest. I'm sorry.
So here you are now, in the thoroughfare proper, people jostling around to get a good view of the dancing bears, and at this point you're back up, I was about to say Torshaven, it's not his name, that's the capital of the Faroe Islands. Thorvaldr and Dragomir, those fighter guys you were with, they bid you farewell. They've got to go and talk to some merchants about, food for the village. and but they'll, you'll be able to track them down should you need them in the city. It's easy enough to find people in a town like this. You just ask about, where are the weirdo foreigners staying, and they'll point you to an inn. And you're left to your own devices in this busy crowd.
I wonder where we could find work within this. Maybe with some of the preparations, perhaps. I don't know if one of the local establishments would have something in need of our skills. I mean, we are quite a capable little party after all.
I like to think so. Why not? And you see me looking towards the festival, seeming quite keen to join in, but then I go, no, I suppose we should focus on getting some work first. Well, how about we go to, I laugh, the local inn. There's always work at local inns.
Well, you can't see a temple from here, but you can certainly see an inn or two, and you could make your way through the streets. It's tough going because of all the mess and clutter and sewage and the roadway and too many people. But for all that you might be planning to avoid the festival, very soon the festival finds you, because the crowd, parts in the middle of the street to admit a procession that's coming. You hear an excited child going, "It's coming! The procession, it's coming!" And you can see that there are people coming along chanting and ringing bells, and several men are carrying statues, like on sedan chairs, so that the statues are above the heads of the crowd.
I clap my hands in excitement. Ooh! I'm very excited about this. I move to the side. I don't want to get in the way.
I smile at Serban and look myself, and I do just sort of mutter to a passerby, "What's the big occasion then?"
The person you address is a portly merchant type, and he goes, this is the procession of Lucor, a legendary local holy man, and they do this every year. You see, they'll bring the statues by, and in fact, as he's speaking, they start to come past you, and you hear the clanging of bells and gongs and the chanting, and they'll take it down to the harbour, and then they float the statue of Lucor out to sea. And look, there she is. That's Lady Magda of the Torrinescu family. You see, every year a different prominent woman is selected to lead the procession, and there indeed is Lady Magda, a quite fearsome, bullish-looking lady, but handsome for all that, very well dressed, and leading the procession with considerable dignity. However, the dignity is interrupted because something is happening at the front. So you're now sort of at the midpoint where you're standing, is sort of halfway back in this procession of maybe a dozen priests and their attendants. And what's happened is, as a general hush falls over the crowd, everyone's trying to see what's going on. Two men, one small and plump, and the other tall and lean, are blocking the way. And the small plump man says to the lead statue bearer, "You bald-headed fool! You Torrinescu scum think you own the streets? There's space for everyone without your ape-like behaviour." And the lead bearer, a solemn-looking man in a white skull cap, well, he's not happy. He waves a ceremonial rod in the small man's face and says, "Out of the way of the procession of Lucor, you Radu rabble!" The tall, lean man spits on the statue of Lucor. A gasp goes through the crowd. And the lead bearer, the bald man in the skull cap, strikes the tall man in the face, sending him sprawling into the mud. The crowd gasps. What do you do?
Oh my. I look over to Serban, who stopped clapping, and I said, "Stop making that face." "Oh, right, you're stuck that way." And then I look over to the action that has happened in front of us, and I lean over to one of the other people around, and I say, "Is this part of the spectacle as well?"
"Oh, no, sir," says a gentlewoman of advanced years. She goes, "No, the Torrinescu and the Radu, those families hate one another. Oh, and you see, the Radu do not worship, or they do not venerate Luke, or, oh, I hope nothing untoward will happen. We might be cursed if they don't float the statue out to sea." And as you're standing watching, a couple of green-liveried men appear, and they start to kind of get in between the two arguing factions and pull the tall man out of the mud and kind of do that thing where you start ushering people away, going, "It's not worth it, mate. It's not worth it." And eventually things simmer down and the procession moves along on its way.
Seems to be a very complicated city, this. People don't seem to like each other, huh?
Well observed, young Serban. Well observed. It seems that seems to be torn between two factions. Let's not try to get caught up in their intrigues.
Although you never know. Maybe one side's willing to pay a lot of money to, make the other side look stupid.
I suppose you're right. As long as it doesn't involve us getting into trouble as being the middlemen. I look at the two factions. Does anyone look more... Do they sort of look wealthy, both of them? Are like houses of...
Yes, they do. It's pretty clear from... I mean, they're not wearing livery particularly, but they sort of have the air of people who are either well-to-do themselves or work for someone who is, They're kitted out quite nicely.
And they are starting to carry, once again, these statues down towards some sort of lake or sea, then? Or
down towards the sea, yes. The two Radu men, the short, plump fellow and the tall, lean one, have been, ushered away and pacified, and then the procession picks up more or less where it left off.
And this Lady Magda, what was she doing throughout this?
She was terribly affronted. She had a sort of expression of absolutely atomic disdain for these two interlopers. But it was clear that she wasn't going to lose control of her emotions, because that would be the most face-losing reaction of all.
Yes. I lean over slightly towards Theodora. I've always been favouring Theodora a little bit over Serban, because of... Serban probably knows this. It's because of her magic, and I don't completely trust it. And I lean over towards Theodora and I say... this is interesting. Do you think perhaps this Magda that is leading the procession might be someone worth speaking with?
Oh, I definitely think so, I say as I sort of take a moment to adjust my leather clothing. I'm actually quite a plain-looking woman, short blonde hair, not really well kept, being from a village and all that. And I kind of go, yeah, she could be right up our alley.
So we should speak to these Tornescus then?
Yes, sir, and of course we shall speak to the Tornescus. I look around for someone of them going around or passing by nearby.
While he does that, I quickly go and find, I assume, a vendor of food who may be somewhere nearby, throw a few coins, and get us all a little festival treat, because I'm hungry.
Sure. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of, sweet treats, or just a sausage in a bun, or what have you. Knock a gold coin off your purse, of course, because money is tight. But yeah, you can get some fun. Maybe something candied. It's festival time. Why not? Some candied pears on a stick.
Exactly. And I get a big one for Serban, and even one for old Niku, and then follow him eating as we go to investigate.
Sure. So what's your next move exactly?
I intend to find someone of this family. Maybe they could introduce me to Lady Magda, and we could see if there's any work to be done for them. If there are people of influence.
You need to do a bit of the asking around, how do I recognise one of these Tarascus? And then, wait, is that their name? Yes. And then someone points you to, look out for this livery. Sorry, let me just check what their badge is. Tornescus. They have a crest which is a kind of a gold, sort of a ribbon shape, which I can show you guys on the camera, but I don't know how to explain it exactly. Like a vertical gold band with pointy bits at the bottom on a black field. And yes, you sort of hear a bit about them, the important people in the family. Their leader, Christoph Tornescu, died recently, and their family has been weakened by that. And so his son Alexander, a mere youth of 26, is now in charge. And basically, the information is that you could go and call on them. They have an impressive mansion in the upscale part of the town, but you won't get anything out of them today on the holy day. You'd be best off waiting until tomorrow, when they'll be, back and doing day-to-day business again.
That's fair enough. I suppose when we hear that news, I kind of just also ask a few people in passing if there are any troubles in the area, any things that could be work opportunities in general, that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, there's certainly lots of trouble. But to answer the second question first, work tends to be the normal sort of things that adventurers of your type might expect. You know, dock working, sailing, being bodyguards, and so forth. But as for trouble, well, yes, there are 3 big families in the town. None of them are the Duke's family. And so these 3 families, the Radu, the Toronescu, and the Vorloi, who it turns out are the ones with the green livery that you saw. They're all kind of constantly vying for special concessions, you know, monopolies over certain trades, trying to win the favour of the Duke. And, of course, everyone that you ask has a different opinion about which families are the goodies and which ones are the baddies. So, actually, you quickly gain the impression that getting an objective view of what's going on will be tricky.
Well, I have to admit, Niku, you don't get this sort of thing back at home.
No. Luckily, though they seem to be a bit more well off. Sometimes this world is indeed unfair. Like I said, we should not get into these intrigues too much. Surely there is some honest work to be done around here that could make use of us. Serban, what are you... Look at that. And I see that Serban is eating one of the treats, and there are crumbs on her collar, and I start wafting them away with my hands.
And I'm munching on these candied apples or pears, and don't forget that they're all heathens as well.
Yes, of course they're all... What do you mean they're all heathens?
I mean, they don't have the true faith, of course. I mean, ours is the only true faith. Surely you should know that.
Well, yes, of course. Sending statues out to sea is an absolute waste of His graces and boons.
It's an affront to the gods, I say. An affront.
It is. We should indeed be setting fire to the entire place. But that will get us nowhere.
This is true.
Serban, we must find something that we can do. Perhaps this... Did you find out nothing more, Theodora?
No, not really. To be honest, the work is all boring. I mean, normal dock work, bodyguard work. It seems everyone's concerned about these 3 families, though.
And work is not to be had today. Maybe we should join in the festivities. Maybe there's a contest of something that we could come out luckily out of.
Well, the journey has been long, so why don't we enjoy ourselves for the night, and then we see if we can contact the Toronescu tomorrow. Maybe then Lady Magda might even see us. I mean, if these guys are vying for power and they're fighting amongst each other, we are the ideal people to help them. We're outsiders. Nobody knows us. Nobody knows anything about us. We're weird and strange. We're perfect.
And that's a ridiculous idea, Serban. I say that we enjoy ourselves today, and then we'll see tomorrow if we can contact one from the Toronesco family and maybe get in contact with Magda.
But that's what...
yes.
I give Serban a bit of a sympathetic look and laugh a little, but then say nothing.
Whatever you say, High Priest.
All right, let's do our party montage. So, you're there in the festivities, the sun sets, and the party keeps going at night. It's all torchlit revels, Romeo and Juliet style. So, yeah, let's see. If this were a movie, what would be the little scene that we see of each of your characters? What would they be doing? Let's start with Serban.
I think Serban has found some fascinating, cute, fuzzy animals in a cage somewhere. And she's absolutely taken by them, by how beautiful and how cute they are. And then she finds out that one of the acts during the evening is that these animals are going to fight to the death, and she has to really hold back to not try to save them, and I think ends up falling asleep crying over this horrible traumatic event that she has witnessed with these furry creatures tearing each other to pieces.
Oh no! Oh, I see. Well, let's see if Niku has a better time.
I'm walking around. I'm not really that interested in the festivities, but rather anything that I could help out with. I am a bit bored, to be honest. So I'm any wood chopping or any reason to get out of this beautiful plate armor now that I'm not using it, to show my bare arms and help out with some physical labor.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a few people who need some barrels of wine ported around or something like that, or some help assembling or disassembling some piece of woodwork that's been used in the festival.
Yeah, I do that, and whenever I see a female looking my way as I carry these things with my bare chest, I wink at them and I flirt raucously.
Alright, what about Theodora?
I go to the best tavern there is, pay a good few for a few rounds of drinks and food. After all, I am the one who carries the purse of the group, primarily. I am, with my 32 gold.
That's true.
So, I spend enough to have a good meal, a good drink, and you see me sort of carousing with a bunch of men, women, just having a nice time, really. As I'm doing it, though, I am kind of playfully getting all the gossip of the town, mainly about the three families. I'm very curious. This is not necessarily who's good and who's bad, but just what are they like? Which one's the stickler for religion? Which one's the troublemaker? That sort of thing.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me consult my notes. In the meantime, I think your carousing will cost you, I'm going to say 2d6 gold pieces. Does that sound fair?
That sounds very fair.
Okay, let's see what... Oh, yes, you go ahead and roll it. That's player interactive.
I roll. Oh, no. 10. Oh dear. 10 gold.
Wow. Quite a night, but you're very much the belle of the ball. Well, at least everybody's friend for now. And now, are you going to... The best inn in town is the Bird in Hand, of course. Are you going to stay there for the night? The sad thing is they only have enough room for one, so your friends would have to stay somewhere else.
I mean... Ooh, that would be fine, but I might try and see if it's okay for Serban to, she should stay with me, really.
Oh, that's...
I'm sure.
Yeah, you could probably swing that. I mean, you've spent 10 gold on booze, so that's fine. You've also learnt that the Radu are kind of the businessy, tradey family in the city. They control the waterfront and the shipbuilding business, and they're attempting, so the rumour has it, to gain control of the moneylenders and bankers. But, of course, that... is going to be fiercely contested. The Vorloi, meanwhile, are... they are sort of the upstarts. They were originally a family of merchants that have kind of elevated themselves just by having money to noble status, which, of course, is ridiculous. But it seems to have worked. So, they are the third faction now, which upsets both the Toronescu, who are the kind of fading, quote-unquote, real aristocrats, and the Radu, who just dislike them because they're rivals. But they are... they seem to be in favour with the Duke, but no one's entirely sure why. So if they are doing anything to help him, they're doing it under the table.
Interesting. I confess it makes me wonder if maybe the Vorloi are the better people to approach. Being in the middle, they have the most to gamble. I'll let Niku know that later, but for now I enjoy my night and get our room ready, and do try and find out why Serban's crying, but I don't know if she tells me, so I'll let it be.
I am completely destroyed, and you have difficulty understanding what I'm saying through my hulking, and my face is all even more destroyed and red, and it's horrible, and I just fall asleep.
Which means that I'll come back to Niku in just a second. But so Theodora, you're the only one that's awake, and perhaps, I don't know, having a last look around the common room of the inn before going to bed. If you don't mind me framing you that way.
Yes.
And a man walks by, kind of just as maybe looks through the doorway at you. He's again a slightly portly fellow, barely. He shaved maybe a week ago, and he's drunk and rolling along and smiles and winks at you. And once he's passed out of the shadowy alley on the other side of the road, and you sort of think it's weird that you can't, that sudden realization that you're all by yourself. There's someone working in the tavern, but they're on the far side of the room and not looking in this direction. All the revelers seem to have disappeared. It's just you and these three shadowy, hooded figures that look at you. And then the portly man kind of does that thing, where you roll around on your shoulder around a doorway to kind of lean on it, and he is now clearly stone cold sober. And he says, So you're new in town, are you? You and your little friend?
That's right.
Yeah, you look like you might be in need of a little bit of work. We've got some things that need doing. You look like you can handle yourself. I'm sure you want to help us. You staying here, bird in hand, is it?
I kind of frown a little, my finger twitching a little, knowing where my dagger boot is. Yeah, for the moment. Who's asking for help?
Me and some interested friends. Listen, be a good idea if you don't leave here for a little while, but we'll drop by and see you tomorrow night. Here, catch. And he throws you a small leather bag. And of course, as you... Actually, I imagine you catch it rather smartly, don't you, Theodora?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And as you're catching it, of course, you have to look at it. And when you look back, you see that the three hooded men are melting away into the shadows. And the large fellow has already, sauntered out of sight. The bag, for what it's worth, holds 20 gold pieces.
20 gold pieces. My eyes widen a little. This is good. I feel a little bad that I might have just agreed to something. I didn't quite know what I'm getting into, but we are here to get money. This is money. This is fine.
Yes, I'm sure there are no strings attached to that money. Let's cut across to Niku, who sadly will have to stay somewhere else. I'm going to say perhaps the Nightingale Inn.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I mean, I've been mingling with the other people who have been doing different kinds of manual labor during the day. I've been going around, perhaps staying with some of them that I thought were particularly nice. And I either take in at an inn or if I'm offered anything else, I'll take that as well.
Well, I think it's most likely to be an inn, and you're with your new friends who we don't need to name right now. Yeah, you pick up a gang of 4 or 5 people, and as you're sitting down enjoying another ale or wine, there's a scarred man kind of comes in. He's wearing like artisan's clothes, craftsman's clothes rather. Not a labourer, but not a posh person either. He goes, "You there, the big lad. You want some work? I'm looking for strong bodies, and I noticed you hauling them crates out there just now."
Yes, of course. Well, tonight, or?
No. I'm looking for someone I can trust to do a little bit of delivery work. Nothing sketchy, mind. But it's going to be valuable cargo, and there might be a little bit of danger. I'll level with you, but
I try to read him as he says this. Does he look like he's up to no good, a shady business sort of character?
Yeah, he seems like he's pretty much on the up and up. Yeah,
he's a bit scarred, he's a bit seasoned. Well, I like people who have done stuff. So
yeah.
I sit there and I contemplate it for a bit, and then I nod and say, "Oh well, very well. Delivery work, you say? Where will I find you, or where will I find the job?"
Well, you can ask for me down at the docks. I'm Theosius, the shipwright, and or I'll come and find you here if you're staying here. Well, look, sign of good faith. Here's three gold crowns for you. Buy yourself another nice drink, all right?
Right then, I will at that, and I show them to the bartender, rubbing them together.
And Theosius, he won't hang around, but he'll sort of slap you on the back and tell you to have a good night and head off.
All right then.
Morning breaks. I guess maybe at least one of you has a bit of a hangover.
Only a little.
Yes. But there you go.
I'm still sad, but not hungover. I don't drink.
But you could still have an aching head from losing all that water from the tears.
There was a lot of water lost, that is sure, to be sure.
But as Serban wakes up, I'm there to sort of wince a little and be like, "Come on, Serban, I've got some good news, and I'm going to get you a nice breakfast. How's that sound?"
Oh, that sounds good. I'm not over what happened yesterday, but okay, today must be a better day, and maybe we will find work. We will find what we're looking for. I can't wait.
Well, I may have already got us something, but let's see what Niku has to say. And I suppose we'll go and have a quick breakfast, and I'll go out. And I think Niku probably let us know he was staying somewhere else, right?
Yeah, or he could come and meet you at the Bird in Hand, and you could have breakfast together, or you can meet us.
Early riser, I'll probably be there as you come down.
Let's say that.
Niku, good news. Come. First of all, let's have some breakfast, and then I have something to tell you. I may have got us some work.
So, you're halfway through breakfast when an old lady in the black dress of a widow bursts in, looking frantic, and says, "Please, can someone help me?" And the innkeeper, who's looks up from where he is and clearly recognises her and hurries over to ask what's the matter. And she starts, to be honest, she starts babbling about some nonsense, sort of, "There are demons in my house. I hear their voices at night, and now during the daytime as well." And he starts to kind of calm her and pat the back of her hand gently and say, there, why don't you have a sit down, and so on.
Demons, you say? I go over to her. "Maybe I can help you, my lady. I am a cleric of some good faith. Perhaps you want me to take a look at your house?"
"Oh, if you could, sir, please. I'm sure there's something living underneath the house where the cellar is. I used to hear it moving sometimes in the day, but at night mostly. And then just a few minutes ago, I heard voices, actual voices. I think they were calling my name." Oh.
Voices, you say? Where is your house?
She sort of starts to stammer, but the innkeeper just tells you where it is, because as he points to a modest townhouse, just kind of a little 2 or 3 doors down the road, and he says, "Come, good wife Thanatu, let this kind man into your home. He'll have a look in the cellar. I'm sure it's nothing."
"Come now, Theodora, servant, you can finish that as we go."
All right, High Priest, yes. And I begin to follow.
I follow as well, saying, "Okay, well, I mean, my thing has to wait till tonight anyway, so why not? 2 jobs in 1 day. This is going to be good."
Yes, and I have a little bit of a delivery to do down at the docks later as well, so this looks promising.
So the old woman leads you to her house and takes you inside. It's a modest place. In the kitchen, next to the oven, is a trapdoor, and she opens it, and there's a little ladder inside, and it leads down into, what looks like just a food storage cellar. Which, there's someone hands you a lantern, and you can climb down there. And yeah, it's a nice dry cellar made out of dirt. There are bags piled against the wall, some cobwebs, a sack of dried apples, and a squeaking, scratching noise coming from the southeast corner.
Squeaking, scratching noise. Could it be rats, perhaps? I move over to listen towards the wall.
As you do that, you see a rat just scuttle out of behind a bit of, detritus and disappear into a hole in the wall. And on closer inspection, you can see that here in the corner, like behind where an old board has been stacked, there's a very small hidden entrance, like about the size of... Well, you, Niku, would have to crawl on your hands and knees to go through it, but it seems to lead into some excavated tunnel that someone has dug.
What's this? Someone has made some sort of entryway here. Is it openable? Is it like a trapdoor or something, or what is it?
No, it's more or less at the same level you're on now. Maybe going down a little bit, but you could sort of crawl along it if you wanted.
I look at my friends and I say, well, it seems like this is leading somewhere. Theodora, you're nimble. Why don't you go in and take a look?
"Oh, well, I guess, yeah, sure, I'll go first," I say with a hint of resignation, but I'll peer in, see if I can crawl, and I'll crawl a little bit in, but I'm being very cautious. I don't want to fall into anything or crash into something.
No, I think you're okay. You're on... This is within your skill set very much, and you soon find yourself in... you suddenly feel yourself in a wider space. And if you kind of reach back and grab a lantern off someone, it's a crudely dug rectangular chamber, like someone's, tall enough to stand up in, even for the tallest one of you, which I think is Niku.
Looking around, does it look like this is the only entrance, this little tunnel, or is there some other entrance or exit or something?
Far from it, there is. Yes, there is indeed another exit, kind of opposite you.
So you're crawling in there on your own. Do you say anything to us as you see this?
I say, well guys, it seems to lead to another room back here, and there's exits.
Indeed.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say it's some sort of secret room, or passageway, or something like that. I highly doubt it was demons down here, Niku, but she said she heard people's voices.
You hear a bit of noise as I come crawling and come into the little square chamber, stand up myself to have a look around. Is it lit in any way?
No, you have to bring your own lighting with you. But yeah, you can see another very narrow, crooked tunnel leading off kind of to the south, and you'd get a definite sense that this is only part of a whole little warren of tunnels and chambers down here.
It's a bit dark in here. Serban, do you have any of those fancy light skills?
Oh, certainly. I mean, maybe there's treasure there, but is the lantern not enough to light things up, or would you like me to use my power?
No, don't use your filthy powers in here, I say, and I bite back on what I earlier thought of was a good idea. And I hold up the lantern, looking around.
My powers are not filthy, I say to myself.
I listen around. Is there any noise coming from any of these pathways?
You can hear a sort of bit of clattering and some whispering, which actually mostly seems to be coming from this northwest side of the cellar, which is, when you follow that, you find that, again, there's another slightly larger hidden entrance here. It looks like basically these people have been cutting through poor old Granny Thanato's cellar as part of their tunnel network.
Wow, someone has been very ambitious here. This must serve some sort of purpose.
I only wonder, is it wise to keep going, Niku? Could be anything down here. Kobolds, orcs, giant 10-foot ogres.
Demons! There could be demons!
There could not be demons, Serban. I think your assessment, Theodora, is more appropriate. Yes, possibly kobolds and orcs, but no. What I don't see is the benefit of this. We could just report to the old black-dressed lady and then go back and do some honest work instead.
I would be prone to agree. I mean, there's clearly something down here. Maybe people should know about it. Yes.
What do you think, Serban?
We need to explore this. This is a chance to find some treasure. And it's so exciting. It could be all kinds of secrets here. We could learn so much that we cannot learn at the top level.
Well, Serban, I agree, but later maybe. I mean, we've already got some good work. Not to mention, I already got 20 gold just for having to wait till tonight. So
we're going to need a lot more than 20 gold. A lot more.
Do you start walking off, perhaps, Serban?
Well, I actually start moving forward, yes. I'm not content with leaving this wonderful discovery behind just because you have something else to do. There's things to be learned here. There might indeed be something very, very important down here. So I start walking off. Follow me!
Serban? Oh, curse it. Oh.
Which way are you walking off, Serban?
So we're now located on this map. We are at number what?
More or less at number 5, I would say.
More or less at number 5. Well, in that case, I suppose I shall be walking towards what is south on this map, because that looks exciting.
I see. Yeah, so you, now there's a fork in the tunnels here. I don't suppose you favour one direction over the other, left or right?
Well, I suppose left.
All right. So yes, you follow these crooked, strangely dug tunnels. It looks like this must have taken a very long time to dig out. In places, there are proper wooden beams in here to support the thing. It's an engineering project. And at length, after a couple of dead ends, you find yourself in This looks like, again, a properly constructed room, like someone's cellar, much like Granny Thanato's that you just came from. And along the north wall of this cellar is a large pile of dirt. And near the open tunnel mouth is a small wheelbarrow that's full of shovels and pickaxes. And you can see a pile of wooden beams in the centre of the room, like quite neatly stacked there. And in the southeast corner is a ladder leading to a trapdoor in the ceiling. Can I just check who is present? Is it just Serban at this time?
No.
I would have run after, probably a little more quicker than Niku.
I would be going after, being very curious about this myself, but not admitting it, least of all to Serban. So I'm telling her to... No, stop it. You stop. Don't go further. Don't. But I don't sound very convincing when I say it.
Yeah, fair enough. The reason I ask is because as Serban arrives in this room and perhaps casts the lantern light over these objects, there is a scraping of wood on wood, and a ray of light shines into the room from a crack in the ceiling, because someone is opening the trapdoor. Serban, what do you do?
I need to hide. I start to find somewhere to disappear out of sight, because I don't know who this is, and we might be trespassing.
Sure. What, do you douse the lantern, or do you perhaps try and cover it with a cloak, or...?
I would douse it if that can be done relatively quickly. I have other means of getting light later, so...
Of course you do, yes, that's true. So yes, you could simply open the little window and blow it out.
Yes, I do that.
I think, and okay. So in the light from above, pure daylight, you see a hooded man dressed all in black, with the kind of burglar-type cowl on. He comes down the ladder, and he stands and kind of looks for a moment at the beams on the floor, and then he goes over to the wheelbarrow and picks up a shovel. And then you sort of see him do the body language of remembering something, and he goes and gets a lantern from next to the beams and lights it with a what's the word I'm after here? A tinderbox. And with the lantern in one hand and shovel in the other, he heads out of the western exit, so the one opposite to you. He goes into the tunnel over there. So, what do you do? I think by now Theodora and Niku will probably have caught up to you in that sort of bumping into you in the dark kind of way.
What are you doing now, Serban?
There's a man down here. They're doing some work. They're excavating somewhere. I think there's only one of them. I think we could just talk to this person and try to find out what they're doing.
Yes.
We're investigating this thing for this lady, and they're clearly scaring her. It's not right.
Excellent idea. I hold up my lantern and I see the trapdoor in the ceiling. Did he come from there?
He did indeed. Would you like to go up first? But then again, we don't know what's up there.
Did you see anything when you opened it?
Did I see anything other than the light? I guess the light must have been quite blinding.
Yes, no, I think you just saw the light coming through. You wouldn't have been able to perceive much else from where you were.
Oh, Serban, you must be more observant in your surroundings. Which way did he go?
He's right over there into that tunnel there.
Well, I'd say we should be a little more cautious, guys. You say just go up and talk to him, Serban. But what happens if he's actually got 10 friends and they all kill us for finding their secret tunnels? Which I'm starting to think clearly that's what these are. They link to this must be another house. Maybe they link to all the houses. Maybe these guys are doing something. What was the cloak you said? A dark cloak. Any details?
Did I see any details on this cloak that he was wearing, or was it simply dark and looking like a burglar, basically?
Yeah, pretty. It's just dark hood, dark cloak, dark clothes. I mean, if you describe that to Theodora, she'll of course recall the 3 mysterious men that accompanied the seeming drunk last night.
Aye, sounds familiar to the people I met last night. There were more of them, though. Maybe they're the local thieves guild, or some group of people. I look at my pouch of money. They gave me a lot of money just to wait around.
Are you saying this or are you thinking this?
Yes.
Ah, well, if you're supposed to be making contact with them tonight, maybe we shouldn't give them a jump scare by appearing too early.
I agree, but maybe we could poke our head through the trapdoor, and I'll very quietly move forward and see if I can just sort of poke the trapdoor open and have a look on the other side, very subtly.
Be careful. Serpent, go back there, stand behind the wall so they don't see you.
Yes, High Priest.
This seems like a good time for Theodora to perhaps give me a percentile die roll.
Yes! So is that a D100?
Yes.
Right. And okay, D10. And is it going to be against what? One of my little move silently?
You move silently, I think. Yeah. So you're looking for 30 or less for this to go absolutely perfectly.
Oh gosh. 5.
Very good. If they weren't watching you, your companions would think you hadn't moved a muscle, but you're already up the ladder through the trapdoor and checking out what's upstairs, which is you are inside a small, deserted, one-room kind of cottage. It seems like it's got an old bed in it, a desk, one chair. There are muddy footprints on the floor leading from the trapdoor, or perhaps to it. And yeah, there's what looks like a wine bottle on the desk. Some bits and bobs lying around. So, yeah.
Nothing that really screams intrigue or interest. I don't want to just... Can I hear anything up here?
Well, you can hear the sound of the street now. You're clearly, and if you look through a little window, you can see you're kind of in a garden behind a much larger house. So this is sort of perhaps someone's guest lodge, something like that.
Ooh. I kind of motion to the others downstairs. Maybe we can go out this way. It might be quicker.
Good idea. I start climbing up the ladder. Serpent, you can come out now. Just go up this way.
Yes. And I begin following. I'm a bit concerned, but all right. The High Priest says it.
Yeah, well, it seems safe enough. At any rate, there's not much up here. As I say, a bed, a desk, a chair, and that's kind of it. If someone's been living in here, they've been living a rather lonely and impoverished existence.
I'm guessing there's nothing in the desk.
Well, you guess incorrectly. Inside the desk is a black leather hood, very much like the one that you've just seen someone wearing.
Oh, I'm going to pocket this. This could come in useful later, guys.
Very fashionable.
Indeed, you look like a burglar.
Thank you, Serban. And that's it, just a cloak?
A hood rather than a cloak. Yeah, there's a cloak there.
Hood, yeah.
There's the wine bottle, which is... it's got no label on it. It's got a wax seal on the top of the cork. You know what's left of it. Isn't one you recognise. Must be some fancy foreign wine. Let's see. No, that's about all that's in here.
In that case, I'm going to go to the door, crack it open a little, and just make sure there's no people outside who are going to be very confused as to why we're in their home.
No, it seems that whoever lives in the big house is out for work, and there's no one in the garden. I mean, I say garden; it's more like it's a vegetable garden, not a fancy pleasure garden.
Right.
You should be able to just slip right past the big house and get out to the street if you wanted.
Alright, guys. Well, I think we have an exit here. Maybe now we should report some of this. There's clearly a bunch more tunnels down below, and some people clearly know about them and go around them with shovels, making more tunnels, and they all wear black cloaks, which, is quite sinister.
I mean, it's a bit strange. There's no sign of storage down there that we saw, at least, so... The only purpose must be to be going between different places in the city.
Well, let's make our way to the street, and we have to find out who owns this big house. Surely they're involved. Maybe they are the bad ones. Maybe they are the ones we should go after.
No. I think first of all we should find out whose the house is, and I go out towards the street.
Yeah. Well, heading to the street makes it very rapidly apparent who owns the big house, because as is common in this city, it's a case where in a 2-story townhouse the owner lives upstairs and their business is downstairs. And so this large house is also the premises of Turano, the butcher. And there are many very tasty looking sausages and cuts of meat hanging in the window. And indeed, Turano is right there at the front, chopping away at the leg of some animal, probably a cow, with a big cleaver.
Well, this is inconspicuous enough. I'm not sure a butcher would be involved.
Which house might he be involved with, I wonder? Maybe we can ask him what he thinks about the houses. Huh? Maybe we can, or I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, good idea. I just thought of something. I should go up and ask this butcher a question about the house.
Sure.
And I go up to the butcher and I say, "Greetings, butcher."
Good morrow, sir. Can I interest you in a link of sausages?
Oh, that looks absolutely lovely. Though we are visitors in town, I'm afraid, and we don't stay at a place that we could cook them ourselves. Is this your house and establishment?
Indeed it is, man and boy. I'm the 3rd generation of Toronto butchers. Many a secret recipe I know as well. You won't find a better meat pie anywhere, frankly.
They look quite mouth-watering. I see that you have an extra house there on the side. You don't rent lodgings, do you? We were just travelling through and was wondering if there's anything.
Oh, yeah, the guest house out the back. Yes, you could rent that. Indeed, you could. Had a fellow in there. He left a couple of days ago, so it's free. It's free right now if you want to have it. Just the 1 bed though, so you know.
All right, that's okay. That's all right. My friends, they already found other establishments where they could stay. I'm looking around for now. But who was this other fellow that was staying here? Another traveller, perhaps?
Yeah, travelling blacksmith. Name of Skevlos. Big lad, but pleasant enough. Yeah.
Right then. I will consider it, and may I come back to you later? Are you here during the day?
Oh, pretty much all day, every day, sir. Yeah, just. I mean, I can't hold it for you. If someone else comes first, of course I'll rent it to them. But do drop by.
I understand. Thank you. And I turn back around to Serban and Theodora, and I say, "Well, it seems like. Does this match the description of what you saw, Serban? Was it a big, burly guy that you saw?"
It was, right?
Well,
or maybe not.
Not. I mean, big in the sort of sense of like a bit of a fighter, but maybe not like a blacksmith-sized. Huge arms. Hard to say in those black clothes, though. They're very slimming.
That's true. Well, they must have started making these tunnels then fairly recently. I mean, there was a lot of dirt down there. Perhaps they've just started doing that and the butcher hasn't noticed. Maybe he doesn't look so carefully in there.
Well, he doesn't seem like he was trying to hide anything, considering that he was eager to rent out the house, at least. So I wouldn't say that he would be involved in it.
No, I do not believe so. I think someone is just using his facilities there. Well, there is a man down there. We know that there's tunnels all under the city. There's something fishy going on there, that's for sure. There's at least not demons. We can tell the old lady that.
Curious. I'm not sure about the purpose of this, but I think that maybe it is time to get a bit of work done today. My purse is running no heavier.
Yes, well, you said you had some delivery work. You can go and do that. I'll go back to the old lady and tell her that it's all fine. Just put some bricks in your hole in the wall. Maybe we should keep quiet about the tunnels for now. We don't know what... Well, like I said, I was given 20 gold just to have a meeting tonight at the old inn. Possibly by these people.
Could well be, yes. So I'm going to head down to the docks. If any of you want to meet me or come with me, you can...
I want to come with you, High Priest.
Of course, yes. What else would you do?
Well, I'll go quickly to get that old lady dealt with, just so we know. Maybe that has some coin. Then I'll come and join you moving crates. Exciting stuff.
Okay, so Theodora, yes, we'll quickly gloss over the part where you pop back. Tell her everything's fine, I guess. Anyway,
I tell her everything's fine. I just mentioned you've got a bit of a hole down there. Make sure someone comes and fills it.
Yeah, and the innkeeper gives you a gold crown for your trouble because he thinks you've done a good thing. So
excellent.
Now, as you're headed towards the docks, you have to cross a crowded marketplace, and the mood in the streets since yesterday was all fun and revelry and cruelty to animals, but today is a little more tense. So it's the market stalls are not that busy. I think people are still kind of not sleeping off the day before, but energy is a bit low. But there is a crowd gathered around a fiery orator standing on a low platform made out of some boxes, and he's shouting, the usual rabble-rousing kind of stuff, saying, "I tell you, these Toronescu are dangerous. Do they care for you? Do they care for the safety of common workers? Who declares the taxes? Who steals food from your children's mouths to fatten themselves on luxury?" And the crowd is getting restless, and you hear shouts of agreement like, "Yeah, they're all bastards." And men raise their fists, and women nod furiously because it's that kind of society. And the speaker attracts more and more people. And as you're, maybe giving them a bit of a wide berth, which seems sensible, you hear the clatter of hooves, and the whole crowd turn around. And over on one side, or rather, at first on one side, and then appearing at another entrance to the square, and then another, are a good, let's say 30 horsemen in the livery of the Duke. The crowd goes silent, and the riders do that thing where they're all in a big line and they slowly walk their horses closer and closer, surrounding the crowd, and unfortunately also surrounding you. And all of a sudden, someone shouts something. You don't really make it out. Something goes through the air. It's a rock, and the lead rider falls with a big thonk as the rock dents his helmet. What do you do?
No. This is very dangerous. This is going to go bad fast. We got to get out of here.
I try to get us out of the way of this impending fight.
Indeed, I don't want to be involved in this, and I'm going to do my best to sort of try and slink back through the crowds.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The trouble with circles, of course, is that it's hard to slink to the edge of one. But yeah, if you get close to one of the horsemen, they kind of mutter a warning at you. But then the crowd go for the horsemen, and the riders draw their swords, and the commoners pick up poles and rocks and bits of rotten fruit from around the market. And there's all of a sudden, there's a lot of stabbing and killing, and you're surrounded by just pandemonium and yelling. Well, yes, I don't think you want to stay to fight, so we'll skip that question. But one thing you do notice is that the fiery speaker, well, you can see him slipping away down a side street. What do you do?
I was just about to start to raise my voice and try to talk sense into people, but then all of a sudden weapons were getting bloodied, and it was not very pleasant. And I see that the fellow is slipping off. Where could he be going, I wonder? I say quickly, "Theodora, servant, come." And I start moving after him.
Sure.
I do my best to follow, trying to gently shove people out of the way into the crowd so they're not in our way anymore.
Alright, let me just do a quick... that was lucky. So you're you're able to do that ducking and weaving thing through a crowd, and perhaps we see a few close calls where someone gets clubbed down with the pommel of a saber just where you were standing, but it's an innocent bystander instead, or another innocent bystander, because actually you guys haven't done anything yet. Yes, you follow the orator. He's wearing quite a distinctive blue long coat, and you see him go to a small hovel halfway down this side street, and he raps on the door and then opens it and ducks inside. And then at the end of the street you see like a dozen of the city guard pikemen coming towards you down the street, marching in that kind of slow, ominous shunk, shunk, shunk way. What do you do?
You know what, Niku? I don't think we're doing any work today. At least not down by the docks. Let's get in the building. And I run to that building to try and get in.
Well, it's not locked, so it's easy enough to go inside. And it's weird. It looks like a house, but it's empty. All that is in here, in a single room, is a trapdoor that is, of course, open because it looks like that guy didn't stop to close it behind him, and a ladder leading downwards.
Yes, he was trying to incite that crowd. And then he slipped down into the underground here. I closed the door behind us as the guards are making more and more noise as they pass by.
Yeah.
I think to myself, yeah, probably if people are fighting, there's not going to be much delivery work to be done.
Well, no, I'm starting to think this is all going very bad. People are killing each other out there. This doesn't really seem like a good place to get work anymore, although, I don't know.
Are all big cities like this? This doesn't seem to be a sustainable way of living.
No, this is a city clearly very torn, and these people hiding underground trying to cause fights are surely up to no good. This is something that should be... Something should be done. Someone should do something.
We should burn them. And the city. They're heathens anyways.
Burn them? No, that's a ridiculous idea. We cannot burn a city. Who would come up with something like that?
No, Serban, we've talked about this before. You need to tell the people in charge what's going on and maybe get a reward from it. That way you get money and you do good.
And then we burn the city.
Yes, we could at least burn...
They were horrible to the animals, I'm telling you. Someone has to pay. And I think the entire city should pay. Serban,
my dear. Maybe later, some burning. And I sort of sigh a little and go, you know, Niku, you really need to, some of those sermons be a little less about the burning of the heathens. And I say, right, okay, hang on. Have the guards passed by?
Yes, I think they've clomped by in unison, and the footsteps have faded away, now mingled with the shouts of people being clubbed and arrested.
So, where would in the city be the Duke's holdings then? If these are his men, where's he?
Well, he inhabits the castle at the top of the big hill to the northwest, and he has his own private estate and summer residence to the south.
Maybe it's at this point worth going to the Duke himself, telling him, hey, you've got a bunch of tunnels under your city where people are running around doing nefarious things.
Trying to incite rebellion, yes. It would be in his interest to know about this.
But
I could even tell him that I'd been approached by them. Maybe we could do some sort of operation against them. There could be a lot of coin involved.
But isn't it his people who are murdering all the civilians out there?
Well, the civilians were the one who cast the first stone.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between a rock and being clubbed to death.
No, you see, they asked for it. Throwing a stone at a guard is telling the guard that you want their sword in your tummy.
Exactly, Serban.
So, you see, what we have to do now is tell the Duke about this incitation. What's going on here?
Why don't we speak to the man who went into the hole? He must know.
Serban, he'll be long gone by now. At the time we've been speaking, he's probably run away to a secret den where there'll be more men waiting. Would you rather go down there by yourself, or would you rather go down there with lots of people behind us with swords?
Yes, Serban, exactly. What are you going to do, blackmail them in a city where we don't know how much power we have?
Well, I suppose.
Or are you going to offer your services and trying to go out and make people fight themselves?
Well, I was thinking maybe we could eavesdrop and find out why they're doing what they're doing, who they are. If we have more information, then perhaps we can use that. That can be our weapon.
Well, how about this? Maybe we should lay low, because I don't think any work's being done now for the day. Maybe we wait till this evening when they're going to come to us. So Audie agreed to meet with an individual who probably works for them at the inn.
Well, we can do that, and then you can find out what their motives are, and then we decide ourselves if we want to report it to the Duke or not.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, that sounds fair, though it is regrettable that I won't be able to do any work by the docks. Delivery work. Do I completely rule this out? I won't be able to do any work.
I think that's fair, because there's there's a big riot going on now. Once you poke your heads out of the door, you'll see there's mayhem out there, and yeah.
Maybe we should go down here and try to find another exit, which is not in the middle of this chaos.
That I could agree with. Let's see if we can trace our way back to the old lady's, which was quite near the inn.
Oh, through the tunnel. Well, that's interesting, because this trapdoor does not lead to a maze of tunnels, as the other one did. This one leads to a single tunnel that goes to one very definite direction and runs for about 300 meters before it comes to another ladder.
Well, I know. I'm worried if this wasn't connected to the other tunnels. I've said, as we've now spent probably, 10 minutes down here.
Yeah, probably.
Could be a way out of the city, perhaps. Let's see.
I think we have to look up. We have to see what's up there.
Theodora, you go have a peek. Subin, you go stand over there.
Once again, I will quietly try to have a peek at the top.
Okay, definitely give me a move silently for this one.
41.
There is still a chance that the fellow up there is surprised. Let me see. He is surprised. So, that was lucky. He, let's see. Yes, you see, it's the orator. He's still up there. Looks like he's in another basically empty hovel. It looks like they're just 2 points used to get from different parts of the city. And he has the air of someone waiting for a contact to come and tell him everything's okay. And at the moment you pop up the trapdoor, he's opened the door a bit to peer into the street.
I kind of look at him for a moment and have a very last-minute decision that I make. I quickly I dip down a little, reach for the black hood in my backpack, put it on, and then tell Niku and Serpa just like, wait here, listen, just wait here, shh, shh, shh. And I walk up with the black hood on and say,
good.
Hey.
Well, he turns around with a start. Ah! Oh, thank goodness. Look, is it clear to go out now, or what?
It might not be clear for some time. You did a very good job out there. Did you think it was going to go that well?
And he starts to get a little sort of proud smile on his face. I felt like I was in control of the crowd, but, I think, I didn't think it was going to go that well. No, I didn't. And he's pretty pleased with himself.
I sort of smile from under the hood, and I casually go to look out the window he's been looking out. Where are we now?
You are in, it's another street, like a slightly nicer street than the Hovel Street. It's you can see some artisan shops down there and whatnot, and it's a slightly better grade of road with cobblestones in it. So, perhaps a more upmarket quarter, but nowhere that you specifically recognise as, it's not near the Duke's Palace or near a temple particularly. Yeah.
I sigh a little and go, well, I think it might be good to go soon, but I don't know, I kind of got separated from some of the others. The city's in chaos. Do you remember where we were supposed to go if it got this bad? I mean, I'm slightly worried some of our safe spots might not be so safe if some random people just barge in,
Ooh, this is sketchy, let me see. Alright. So he goes, well, the normal place, I just always go to the Blue Water Mead Hall. I don't really know any of the other... Oh. No, I'm not trying to get you to tell me any of the other places. Sorry. No, but that's where I'd go. And then he looks a bit nervous, like you outrank him and maybe he's talking out of turn.
I smile and go, no, good. It's always good to keep these things shum. All right, well, remind me though, what was it you were doing later? I don't think we've actually met before. I'm a bit new to this.
He sort of... he looks at you like, if you hadn't mentioned that you're new, how would he know you're wearing a mask? But he goes, well, I just go to the normal meetings. I'm not one of the I'm just happy to be part of the organisation, part of the society.
Yes, the society. No, good work. Again, like I said, you did good work, but plans might need to change a little. To be honest with you, we saw a few of those crowds, just bursting into shops, being a bit too zealous. We're a bit worried that one of our little entrances might get discovered, so you might need to be a bit more careful. You understand?
Right. I'm still okay to come to the meeting tomorrow night, though, right?
Yes, of course, at the Blue Mead Inn.
Yes, the Blue Water Mead Hall, yes.
Excellent. Yes, no. You know what? I think you should go now. I look out the window, try and make it look quite serendipitous, and I go, yeah, I think it's okay now. I think most of the action is in the main market areas. Just keep your head down, don't be seen by anyone, and be ready for tonight.
All right, I'll, well, you know where to find me, and he kind of, he just looks really serious and determined, and leaves the house at a run, and sprints down the street, which is not that inconspicuous, but,
I let out a little sigh of relief, take off the hood, and go back to the trapdoor and go, Guys! I found out some stuff! Quick, come up!
Ooh. I immediately start climbing up.
Now,
And I push you gently to the side, servant, so I can go up first.
you notice something interesting about Theodora when you get up there, which is that for some reason she's normally blonde, but she has several strands of red hair in her hair. Must have come out of that hood.
What's this? And do you still hold the hood in your hand, or?
I do. I kind of look and go, oh.
Let me have a look at that. And I look at the hood. Is there any?
Yeah, there's a bit more in there. Yeah.
It's coming from someone. Seems like some red-haired person. Are they long? Is it long hair?
It's longish, but yeah, you would think that it's not a woman's hair, because that would be longer in this community. Yeah, so probably a man's hair. Yeah.
Interesting. And I hand it back to Theodora. Well, spill it then.
So, he's part of some group called the Society. That's what they're calling themselves anyway. This was all part of a plan. He was supposed to do what he did. He was very happy when I told him he did a good job. What a moron. And then he let loose that they meet at a place called the Blue Mead Inn. They're meeting tonight, which, to be honest with you, makes me think that maybe we're going to be invited to the meeting? Because if the guy's hiring us to do something tonight, I don't know.
Are you sure? Well, if you say so. Meeting tonight. Well, that sounds interesting. Blue Water Mead Inn.
The Blue Mead Inn.
Blue
Water Mead Hall. Yes, you were.
Blue Water Mead Hall.
Yes.
The Blue Water Mead Hall. Yes.
And very well. Is that where you were told to be meeting them as well?
Yes. I mean, there are other places. Obviously, he didn't want to say where because he seemed to think I was superior to him. So obviously, if you wear one of these hoods, you are the big boys and girls.
And he was doing his test of fire, his trial by fire.
I'm while they're speaking, I'm thinking like red hairs. These red hairs, it stood out. Is that like a common, like you see red-haired people all around? About these this conflict around the statue, for example, was it any one of the people there who had red hair?
Yeah, you see, that's a very good question. And no, it's relatively rare. You see a few people, but not very many. Mostly everyone around here has black hair, occasionally blonde, and very rarely red. None of the people fighting around the statue had red hair. And in fact, none of the... you've seen a few... You'll have seen a few members of the noble families around just during your revelries because, they go out with big parties. And they seem to be uniformly dark-haired.
Do you say anything about this?
Well, we have to keep an eye out for a red-haired person. That much is clear. But it's not the noble families, though. They are all black-haired, so it must be some kind of henchman of some kind, perhaps. But there's not many of them, so let's keep our eyes out.
Very peculiar. So we take We should probably take to this Blue Water Mead Hall then.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
mean,
think we should do that first rather than have them come to us?
Well, you said that they wanted you to meet there, or...
They wanted me to eat at the inn I was at, which is the
bird in hand.
Bird in Hand Inn.
Right. Well, maybe that's where we should be then. And I jingle my coin purse. It's
I
getting
think we can
lighter.
go there, play it out like that, because so far everything we've done, they don't know about, and as far as they know, we were going to be there tonight. Then, when we've done that, we can start acting on some of this information we have been given.
Seems like some sort of society then that is trying to incite rebellion, at least against certain types. Makes me wonder if it's tied to this family you spoke of, the Vorloi, the rich upstarts, trying to do something to upset.
Maybe. Alright, well, this at least seems less in the riots. Let's try and make our way back to the inn from here. Have a think. You alright, Serban?
Yeah, it's definitely going to have to be one of the families. I mean, they're vying for power, and clearly they're very close to getting into to direct combat with each other. I didn't like the look of those Radu, I'll tell you that. No, not at all.
No one seems to like the Toronescu either.
Well, they seem to be losing their power, right? So people are probably taking the opportunity to jump on them, but yes.
All right, well, let's perhaps cut to... So you've got kind of an afternoon before... To clarify the timeline a bit, supposedly tonight, the hooded people are coming to meet Theodora at the Bird in Hand. So you've kind of got an afternoon to do whatever you want there. But if you just want to go back to the inn and kind of kill time until then, that's fine.
I think I'd be up for going back to the inn, laying low, because I assume for the rest of the day the city is going to be in a little bit of a riot uproar scenario.
Okay. Well, allow me to spoil your illusions. Okay, so you go back to... Well, the riot and uprising scenario is going on. That's being quelled, and you see little pockets of shops being smashed up and soldiers clubbing people in small groups. But as you get back to the inn, you see a worried look on the innkeeper's face. And there are a number of the Duke's guards clearly waiting for you, all three of you. And without wanting to get too coercive, they basically clap you in irons and march you to an impressive-looking precinct very close to the gates to the Duke's palace. And then they
I look like I'm going to protest this,
Okay.
but to be honest, as there's so many of them, I kind of just go, okay, fine. Right.
Yeah, there's enough, I would say. I mean, if you want to attempt a daring escape, I mean, I'm totally okay with that, but
No, I think I would look to Niku and probably whisper, or, plan B was just go and tell them everything now.
Yeah, I suppose my mind wanders to the black hood that they might find on Theodora's person.
yes, that's a very good point. Yeah. So they, search you, find the black hood. One of the investigators, the Tribune, as he introduces himself, looks at the hood and then at Theodora very significantly and puts it aside. And you're all sat together on a marble bench in a nice palatial, like a little antechamber thing, where they also have set up some chairs for the Tribune and his assistants. And there are some clerics present of the God of Justice. And the Tribune looks at you. He's an older man, perhaps in his 50s, kind of a hawk-like face, sandy blonde hair. He says, so, I understand that you three were beneath the house of old Granny Thanato earlier today.
Ah, yes. The tunnels that we found there. Have you found them as well, then?
We have found them. Can you account for your whereabouts after going into the tunnel? You didn't come back out the same way, did you?
No, we were curious, I suppose. More accurately, my companion here, this little reckless girl, she wandered off into the tunnels and we had to follow her. So when we finally found ourselves back out again, we found a trapdoor near the butcher's house, a little side house, and that is also where we unfortunately came upon this suspicious-looking black hood.
That is interesting. So you came out near a butcher's house, did you?
Well, the hut next to his house, and he didn't seem too aware of there being someone using it. He was quite eager to rent us the place, in fact.
Indeed, not to mention most of these tunnels are probably quite new. You saw all the shovels? These people have been digging tunnels around your city quite recently, I'd say.
These people. Quite recently, and you arrived quite recently, didn't you?
Well, not
Yes.
that recently. I arrived a day ago. Can do 10 yards worth of tunnels in a day, sir.
I have several people who can account for our whereabouts yesterday. We were definitely not working on such tunnels, no.
So when you emerged from the tunnel, you didn't meet anyone in the house? You didn't find yourself in a surprisingly opulent house?
Opulent? No. This was merely a little hut. There was no one there.
It was near a nicer house. Again, the butcher, I think, works near a big house. We didn't know whose house it was.
Oh, yes, that's true. There was this rather big house next to it. But I thought that was the butcher's.
He looks across to his assistant, who looks back and kind of shrugs and says, fixes you each with a level stare in turn, and says, earlier today, we discovered signs of a struggle and violence in the Vorloy house. Following a trail, we discovered further that there had been a tunnel dug out of their cellar. And when we investigated the tunnels below it, we found Miss Lucia Vorloy murdered and buried in a shallow grave. Now we know that you were armed and moving around under those tunnels earlier today, so bearing that in mind, what have you got to say for yourselves?
Well, first of all, there wasn't just us. There was at least one other hooded guy under there. And the guy who caused all the problems in the square today also uses those tunnels. That guy who was doing all the shouting and caused the massive riot.
So you're saying your fellow members of the Veiled Society are to blame for this riot and for the murder?
I'm not a member of the Veiled Society. Have you looked at the cloak? Do I have red hair? I stole it.
Yes, my associate here saw it fit to take this as a part of our investigation. We were planning to report this to the Duke, but we weren't sure if we were getting our hands too deep into something that we might have better left alone. This is a very unfortunate circumstance. I did not realize this Vorloy lady herself had been killed. That's horrible. Do you know how she was murdered?
He looks at you, Sir Ben, and says, "You've been very quiet."
I don't know anything. I'm absolutely terrified. I'm shaking a little bit, actually, because this is really serious. We've been put in iron, and I'm too young to die.
Get a hold of yourself, Seb, and you do know that you have been with us during the day and that we have not been involved in such a thing as a murder?
No, of course not. We haven't murdered anyone. Please don't kill us, good sir. Please.
Not to mention, you can talk to the old lady. The only reason we were even looking at tunnels was because she requested us to.
Indeed. We were trying to do a service to the city.
He summons over a scribe who stands there and takes some notes in a wax tablet, and then he has one of the clerics steps forward and makes a gesture of some significance. And the tribune begins to announce, you three foreigners have failed to provide, when questioned, an adequate explanation of your whereabouts during the events of the day of the murder of Lucia Vorloy. And for that reason, I must now formally request that you submit to a clerical inquiry. Answering only yes or no, do you agree to submit to this inquiry?
I look a little bit tongue-tied at the idea of just saying yeses and nos, but then I kind of go, oh yes.
Yes, an inquiry, of course.
Yes, anything.
Okay. So the clerics start to chant, and there's a weird humming, buzzing in the air, and you kind of start to get flickering lights in front of your eyes, and you feel sick, and the saliva wells up at the back of your jaw, and your stomach clenches, and your muscles start to clench as well, so that it becomes hideously painful. And then he asks you basically the same questions again, and you find yourself under a compulsion to speak the truth. And we'll montage through that because it's going to be basically the same. And when it's all over, you kind of sit back and relax, and your muscles go back to normal, and you're all in a bit of a cold sweat. And the two clerics look to the Tribune and they confer. And it seems that the results are inconclusive. So he says, "You'll go free for now on my recognizance, but don't leave the city. It will be the worse for you." And with that, he strides out, leaving behind his assistant guard guy, and it's just sort of the clerics follow up behind him.
I'm sorry, Mr. Assistant Guard guy. Perhaps you could...
Anotos. My name's Anotos, actually.
Anotos. Mr. Anotos. Now, we came to this city in search of work, and then found ourselves in these very unfortunate circumstances. If there is anything we can do to help you with this, what we understand, strange society... I mean, you know only what we have told you, that they might have a meeting and where, but would you... could we offer any assistance?
He starts to unlock your manacles, and he says, "Listen, I think you didn't do it. It don't make sense that you would have done it, but fact is, they'll put this on you if they can't find the real culprit. So yeah, I reckon it's a good idea if you... anything you find, you better let us know. Sorry."
Well, so I look over to Theodora. Did we, during the questioning, did we reveal about the Blue Watermead Hall and the meeting set there tomorrow night?
Would they have asked such a thing?
I don't think they would have asked you about that. They were quite focused on the whole murder issue.
Yes, so in that case, no. So I'd say... so I say, well, they don't know where they're meeting tonight. I also don't know they might be meeting us. Although, I wonder if that's still going to happen. These people probably know that we've been taken in.
They probably will. And I don't know if they will decide to want to meet with you after this. And I do not know which side is on the right, of course. But I do know that one easy way for us to get into trouble is to be further discovered in the company of the society members.
That's true.
Well, if we know where the society is meeting, then if we give that information to the enemies of the society, which would be the Vorloi, presumably, right? Because one of theirs was murdered, right? And then perhaps we could strike together with them.
That sounds like a good idea. Yes, good idea, Serban. See? That's what happens when you use your head.
She is suggesting, though, that we go behind the back of the Duke.
Not behind the back of the Duke. We go to the Vorloi first. Help the Vorloi, and then the Vorloi back us up with, hey, these guys actually helped us out, and maybe this will help them get their power back. Or at least... intrigues between great houses, oh dear me. Well, all right, we'll do that. We'll find out the Vorloi. We'll say sorry for our loss, and we will let them know what we know about this society. Exactly. We can't go by ourselves, because to be honest, I feel if we go by ourselves, it's just going to look like we're going to the meeting, and then maybe the Duke's there anyway, and they raid it, and we get in trouble again.
That's actually kind of a good point. So are you going to head directly from the precincts of justice to the Vorloi house? Or do you have another plan? Okay. So, yeah. Well,
if everyone else is okay with that.
Well, we can try to, if we can, Theodora, you can perhaps, make sure that we shake anyone trying to follow us. That might be perhaps wise first.
I shall do that. I shall make sure that our journey is not followed by keeping an aware watch as we make our way there.
Yes, let me think. So that's, as the OSR Maxim has it, the answer is not on your character sheet, but I do agree that it's likely you'd be able to give people the slip, so I will give you I'll say that it's only like maybe 1 in 6 that someone can follow you, but I'll do that die roll without you being able to see it, so... Oh. How mysterious. Alright, so... Don't worry, I promise to honour the results of whatever that die roll was. Now, so the Vorloi house, let's think. I'm picturing a kind of, sort of Italianate... like the the multi-story buildings they have in Venice. What's the word? Not a palazzo, but that kind of thing. You know, where the main apartments are upstairs with the balconies and so on. Lots of ornate metalwork on the grills outside, and perhaps some colourful tiles. Let me just look at the Vorloy notes here. All right, here's a bit of a scene-setting question. So the Baron Vorloy is a very private individual. He prefers to be left alone. So, yes, Serban, what's something that you notice as you approach this grand family's house that tells you this is a somewhat unsociable family?
For starters, I think all the windows are covered with, there's like metal shutters and like iron grates or what do you call it, iron bars in front of them, and there's certainly a high wall surrounding it as well, and you can hear dogs barking from the other side of the wall, as if there's guard dogs patrolling the place as well. It definitely seems like they don't like having guests.
Yes, the expression on the face of the footman who opens the door to your knocking certainly gives the impression that guests are not that welcome. But what do you tell him is your business?
I'm thinking that the truth might be in order. I mean, the Veiled Society, was it?
That's right.
The Veiled Society, they must know of it. We know things about the Veiled Society, and it's obviously not a friend of the Vorloys. Perhaps we can reveal what we have and offer our assistance to them. What do you think, Niku and Theodora?
Yes, if we discuss this on the way there. Yes.
Yeah, I imagine you'd have chatted about this on the way. Yeah.
Yes. And you agree, Theodora?
I do. I think at this stage, there's no point being tricksy with them. We need to get them on board as quickly as possible.
Yes, I think we would have discussed and say that we have come to offer our condolences, that unfortunately we've been mixed up in this whole matter, and perhaps if we could instead aid them by the little things that we've heard and picked up on our way.
Sure. So you're shown into the atrium, a little waiting area, and told to sit. And in here, outside it was still hot. You know, like when it's been a blazing dry summer day, and so the sun is setting and the shadows are long, but you still feel that heat that's baking out of the buildings and the road around you. And now you step into an almost icily cool, tall marble room that has these black-veined pillars supporting the roof, and there's a very classical kind of statue of what looks like perhaps a bearded god wrestling with a snake, and some fine oil paintings of absolutely huge canvases, larger probably than any of the floors of buildings back in your home village. The amount of money here is almost sickening. But you sit in the quiet gloom for a while, and then a very tall wooden door opens and candlelight shines on you, and the footman very stiffly says, "The Baron will see you now," and he indicates that you should go into this candlelit
The Baron
room.
will see us himself. This I did not expect.
Very good.
Excellent. The good Baron.
So the Baron, well, he's a severe-looking fellow. He looks pretty traumatized. His daughter was murdered earlier today. Here's a combination of sad and very, very angry, and he's standing with his hands clasped behind his back when you come in. He's wearing a green velvet doublet, and he's got grey hair, grey beard, which is neatly trimmed. He has the look of a man who's, well, I'm not too sure about your background actually, Niku, but I think you detect perhaps a military bearing that might fall within your area of expertise, I would say. And he rather stiffly bids you to sit down on some stools that have been put in front of his desk. This is clearly his receiving room for business and people who need an audience.
And I go in and I sit down and I say, "Baron, Your Honor, thank you for gracing us with an audience. We are very sorry about your loss. Being new in the city, we seem to have been dragged in to some very tumultuous intrigues.
Well, I'm also very sorry that you've been dragged into our business in this way. Now, I don't wish to be terse, but I was given to understand that you have some information, perhaps about the beasts who killed my child.
We believe, and I speak up as Nico starts to speak, we think it's the Veiled Society. They're the ones who did it.
Now, Servant, I'm Baron, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but there seemed to be some sort of literally underground movement in the city. They are moving in tunnels under it, and they are trying to incite a rebellion amongst the people. You know about the disturbances down in the other parts of the city, I'm sure, today?
Yes. I saw the fires from the top of our house here.
Yes, and it seems that these people would see this be done along with what happened to you. I understand that you found some tracks leading down into the underground, which is also where we found ourselves, and we came upon one person who seemed to be associated with them, the very one who was inciting the crowd into fighting. And he himself, he said that this society, which he was eager to be part of, now you see, he thought that we were part of it. That is why probably he said all this. He said that this society were going to meet tomorrow night, was it, Theodora?
No, I believe it's tonight.
Is that right? At the Blue Water...
Mead Hall.
Mead Hall, that's it, yes.
I see.
I don't know if this makes any sense to you. I'm sure you have more insight in what's happening in the city.
It seems I know very little about what occurs in this city. But if this blue water place you speak of is a den of these veiled society, and I'm sure, I feel it in my blood that this is the Taranescu's business, then...
Well, no offense, my lord, but these people didn't really seem to be on anyone's side. If anything, they wanted to cause chaos for everyone. They're probably an outside party.
Who was the guard? Who did the guards belong to that the crowds were incited to attack?
Those were the Duke's men.
The crowd was, incited to attack the Duke's men. I'm not sure what the Taranescu would have from this, but let me say once again that if you know this better than we do, if you think that is the case, then of course.
May I contribute with one point here? We were witness to an event. There was a great religious significance. Yes, statues were being brought down to the sea. Yes, this is important. Lady Magda, I believe, from the Taranescus, she was leading this
Indeed.
procession, right? Do you know what happened there? It seemed that some men from the Radu family, right? They pestered this procession and tried to interfere with it, and upon which men from your family, did they interfered, did they not? And they prevented that from happening, yes?
I can't say I know anything about it myself, but if those were my men, it stands to reason that they would try to stop any kind of violence happening in the streets. You see, I am a great lover of peace and quiet, and it's my belief that this city thrives only when there is stability. I do everything I can to maintain at least a semblance of not outright war on the streets. The Radu and the Taranescu do their best to make that very difficult indeed.
Could this murder, could it be a revenge upon your house for this this interference, that they perceive you as a threat?
It's very possible. Now listen, you've done me one kindness this evening. I will ask you for one more kindness tonight.
Of course, Baron, whatever we can do. The Duke is currently suspecting us of having something to do with it. That is why we so eagerly find ourselves at your doorstep trying to make this right.
I'm not a cynical man, but I did wonder, perhaps, what might be motivating you. I would like you to go with some of my guards to this blue mead water place, and I rather imagine that it's not a public meeting place of these veiled snakes. I would ask that you and whatever friends you might have will go in, identify the place or the people that will be the recipients of my revenge, and then call in my men to root them out.
Very well, that sounds reasonable.
Keep in mind we should maybe save one for questioning, so we can give that person to the Duke, and then they can find out more about the society as a whole.
He sort of he nods in a kind of distracted way, like, yeah, that sounds reasonable, yeah.
And I go, wonderful, yes, no, we have some of our friends of our own, and with your men, wonderful, we'll go, we'll raid the place, try and be subtle first, though, you don't want them all running away, and then see what we can get.
Just make sure that your friends are informed, your men are informed that we are trying to be friends here. We do not want to end up in the crossfire if possible. At least not on the wrong point of one of yours spear.
Indeed, you'll have the opportunity to make yourselves known before you go. You'll have my undying gratitude for this. Tell me, you're strangers here. What brings you to this city?
Indeed. We have been travelling from our own village of Blackvale, where we have had recent troubles with drought, and now we are finding ourselves running out of supplies, unfortunately. Our little group that set out in order to try and help the village. We came here to find work. As simple as that may sound, but that's the truth of it. And then perhaps find something that we could bring back to our own village.
Indeed. To be honest, we kind of got mixed up in this all quite quickly. And, well, now I'm just annoyed to, be blamed for something I didn't do. So I'm eager to help someone get some justice. And who knows, maybe we'll still get a reward at the end from the Duke himself for helping the town with these unpleasant individuals.
I nod at this as I have been thinking the same thought.
Do me this service, and your village will not go hungry this winter. And with that, he turns to, inspect some piece of statuary on a plinth in the room, which signals that the interview is now over.
I say to Serban, there you go, Serban. Wait a little longer, and maybe you'll get to set someone on fire.
Really? Okay, let's go.
Yes, and I get to my feet and move out, and we try to organize this.
Yeah, you're met by a kind of guard captain type figure who's got a dozen tough-looking lads with cudgels and uniforms and helmets, and they'll kind of greet you they're all a bit. Well, they're not as sad, obviously, as the relatives, but they know that this is the beginning of something explosive. And they'll follow you along through the streets. It's not difficult for you to just ask people where the inn is, basically. And it's down near the docks, and you can kind of leave them lurking out of sight in an alleyway or darkened street while you go about your business. Unless there's something else you would like to do before proceeding.
Only quickly send a message to our travelling companions, Dragomir and Torvald and Nick Frost, to be like, just be nearby, because this might be the time when they're needed.
Exactly, but we wouldn't want to drag them all into this, because then we'd stand out.
Exactly. They don't need to be with us right now. Just be ready for when the conflict begins. Be ready to come in and lend a hand.
So yeah, this Blue Water Mead Hall actually looks quite nice. It's got it's one of those places that has tall arched porticos, so the light and the sound spills out onto the street from there. It's night time now. You can see the ships bobbing at anchor, and you can hear from inside all kinds of raucousness and making merry, and the food actually smells good as well. It's pretty good. There's sailors striking up a rousing but slightly out of tune sea shanty, and people playing, someone playing the bagpipes, someone playing the spoons, and you can see all the sort of the pot boys running between the tables, slamming down flagons of ale and catching coins that the customers throw to them with a bit of panache.
I'm going to look around the crowd, and I'm going to try, number one, see if anyone looks a little bit not here for these festivities, but also number two, if I can see our friend from earlier, either here now, or maybe I'm watching the door to see if he's going to be arriving anytime soon.
Near the back of the room, you see someone who catches your eye, not because you recognise him, but because he has distinctively red hair. And he's sitting kind of near there's like a curtained doorway that maybe goes to a storeroom or something, like it's like the kitchen entrance or something. So he's sitting quite close to that, the other side of all this merrymaking and feasting. No sign of the speaker from the square, though. If he's here, he's either out of sight in another room or he just hasn't shown up yet.
I have a little plan. I'm going to go and see if I can find out. I'm going to try and go to that door. I'll act a bit silly and see what happens. What do you think? I'm going to do it.
As if you're not supposed to see if there's a private meeting in there, you mean?
Exactly. Give me a sec. I go to the bar and quickly throw down a gold to get a drink.
Okay. Someone gives you whatever.
I do so. I grab the drink, I take a few sips, and then I just sort of start making my way to the redhead man and this doorway, and I stumble a little, and I spill my drink on the bar, and I kind of go, the privy, it's through there, yes? And I start heading to the door.
Okay. So yeah, no one stops you, and you can push through this curtain that covers it. It's just a reasonably nice blue velvet curtain, and on the other side there are two men sitting on the floor in there. They look like sailors as well. They're playing dice, and they both look up at you. And there is a short hallway that ends in what are they called? Yeah, those sort of like stable doors that you can open the top half or the bottom half separately. Anyway, one of them. And the top half is open, and beyond is a street, or more of an alleyway, actually.
I kind of stumble forward a bit, being a little surprised that I haven't actually been stopped. And again, to these sailors, I go, "Hey, boys! Sorry, is this not the way to the privy?" I'll take another drink.
People usually just go out in the alleyway, to be honest with you.
Thanks then, thanks. Fancy curtain, though. What's this? Just the back room of the inn?
Yeah, it's just the back. You go out to the... They look a little kind of nervous at each other, like, no, it's just... If you want to go out the back, you've got to go out that way, and they kind of point... Both of them sort of point very vaguely and helplessly towards the back door.
I smile and take another sip, and I just sort of stumble back where I came, and I just sort of look at the red-haired man in a sort of passing glance. How was he looking at my stumbling about this area?
He sort of doesn't pay too much attention to you. You can see that his right arm is injured, the way he's holding it against his side, and he seems to be like he's waiting for something, someone to have come and meet him, perhaps.
I go back to the others, sort of stumbling along, put my drink down.
Well, what did you find?
Well, he's standing by the door, but the door just leads to some sailors playing dice and then an alleyway outside, and it didn't seem as if it was a secret area or anything. He's waiting for someone, though.
No, nothing on the floor. They weren't sitting on a trapdoor by any chance?
Well, maybe. It didn't really look that carefully. Obviously, they were watching
All of
me.
a sudden, the red-haired man stands up, as if like he's got some signal to move, and he makes his way towards the curtained exit. What do you do?
Oh, look at that. And it seems as it's time to move.
Alright, well, should we follow him? Should we wait a few seconds?
I look around. Is there anyone else in the room making a move?
No.
I think we can take that as our cue.
Alright, Serban, be quiet. Stay behind us. Let's go.
Okay. So he goes through the curtain. You follow close behind. And there's just the two sailors in there sitting on the floor playing dice. And they look up at the three of you.
I take a little double take. I look where we've come from. I look all around. Where could he have gone?
Could have gone out the back door. But there's no one in the alleyway.
Are they sitting on anything? Is there a rug or is there actually...
No, but it becomes pretty clear there's a bit of the hallway wall they don't want you to look at too closely as they start kind of trying to stand in the way. You're like, what's the matter? Something wrong? Why don't you pop back in there?
Well, we saw a guy go through here. Did you see a guy come through here? Red hair.
Somebody roll a d6 for me.
2.
You're surprised. So one of the guys mutters an incantation, and all of a sudden, there's nothing. You can't hear anything. It's all gone silent. And the one who didn't mutter an incantation pulls a dagger from his boot. Let me see who's got the highest dex. It's going to be the thief, isn't it? Let me check. Yes. Theodora, what do?
I grab my dagger, and I sort of frown a little at this man, and I just sort of dive towards him, mouthing to Serban to do something, although of course it just comes out as a mouthing movement.
So when you say you dive towards him, are you trying to grab him or stab him or something?
I think it's going to have to be a stab because they're about to beat us up, so...
That's fair. Okay, give me an attack roll. You are looking for... You want a 12 or more, I think. This guy's wearing leather armor.
For 13.
Oh, very good. Please roll a d6 for your damage and let me know what you get.
4.
Alright, okay. So he staggers back from your assault. You kind of nick the guy across, maybe just below the collarbone on the left side. It kind of scratches through the leather jerkin that he's got on. It's not. He's not like terribly badly injured, but he's off balance. And let's see what happens next. What about Niku? What are you going to do?
As I see this opening, I'm going to try and draw my mace and follow up to what he just did. Is my mace still wrapped? Is that precaution?
Yeah,
of being
I think so. Yeah, so you can either. Let me think about this. You can use it, but it would do less damage, or you can take the round to unwrap it and then get him. What do you think?
I think that, yes, even though it's wrapped, I probably would rather go into an attack, seeing that my friend is involved in fighting already. So I'll probably attack with it.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, go for the attack. We'll say it just as let's say it just does a D4 damage rather than D6 because it's sort of a bit floofier than it normally would be.
Yeah.
Okay, go for your attack roll. You're after a 12 as well.
I roll a 4.
That's not much help to you. So yes, he the same fellow. He's easily sees your heavily wrapped mace coming, and kind of turns his body sideways out of the way. Now, Serban, what do you do?
It's time for Serban to burn someone. And I cast Burning Hands, trying to attack the closest enemy. How will this work now? Will I be able to damage one of them or both of them? Is it shooting out or is it contact in this version?
Ooh, well, this is shooting out, so let me read this to you from the Blue Home rulebook. So, a sheet of searing flame shoots from the caster's fingertips, 30 feet long and 15 foot wide at the end. You may want to make a saving throw, the other two, I don't know. Who are you aiming this at again?
Are they in the way?
I think you could probably just attack the one who cast the silence spell and kind of do it on one side of the corridor. Otherwise, you would definitely, I think you would hit the other two at the same time.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. They mean a lot to me. So I shall cast Burning Hands, and I shall take out this enemy. Finally, I get to burn something.
Okay. Well, so it's all very impressive looking. Now, sadly, it only actually does 1 point of damage per caster level. I think you're level 1, 2?
I am level 2.
Okay, so it's going to do 2 hit points of damage, but of course it also sets things on fire, such as the clothes that this guy is wearing. So yes, he sort of right now he just kind of goes whoomph, and you see him scream in shock and surprise and terror. But in this instant, he doesn't immediately keel over, but of course starts to kind of run around in a panic. And well, that's what you guys have. You guys have all gone, so it is their turn to act. I think it just makes sense for the cleric to try and run out the back door, basically, and try and roll in the street to put the fire out. I think that's probably the thing that's going to happen. I'm just going to roll a bit more fire damage for him. Okay, he's quite a tough guy actually, so he's still not quite dead, but he's definitely the other two of you just see this blazing cleric run by, making no sound, of course, because silence is still happening, and push through the half door out into the street, and then start just flopping about in the mud trying to put the fire out. Meanwhile, the more fighty guy, I think, would probably try and get. Well, sir, but I think generally you would fight the person has actually stabbed you, even if the person who nearly hit you with a mace looks like they might be a bit tougher. So, where's my D20 gone?
I have an AC of 7.
Yep, and that is a hit. So you're going to take 3 hit points of damage to Theodora. Yeah. How many hits? Oh, you're okay. You're fine. You can't die in 1 hit. It's fine. Okay, so. And, Theodora, then it's your turn again.
Kind of wince as this guy just sort of gashes me across the arm. And I kind of swear a little and go for another attack.
Okay, go for it. You are also, you're shooting for a 12 again.
19.
Very nice.
D6
for damage.
4 again.
4. Well, where did I just put my notes? Oh, crumbs. Oh, there it is, right. 4. Ooh, that is just enough to take this guy out. Why don't you give us a little description of how that happens?
So yeah, he gashes me across the arm, and I swear a little as I wince in pain. I'm actually a bit worried, and I just sort of then spurt forwards and drive my dagger straight into his throat with a sort of upward shiv, and watch as he slumps back.
Nasty. There's a sort of impressive spray of blood up the white plastered wall, and actually where that spray goes, you can see a little on the wall. You can now see where the hidden door is, because it's a slight misalignment of how the blood spray goes. And he's just silently there, fading away on the floor. What do you do now?
I kind of say something to the others, which obviously is silenced. And I kind of then, to Serban, motion for her to quickly, like, a sort of hand motion to move back in the other room, and then I mouth, "Call the guards! Call the guards!"
And I nod.
Alright, so yeah, you can quickly run out and summon those guards in, and they all come trooping in as soon as you give the signal. And of course everyone, and I suppose your companions would come as well. And so all the sailors and other customers in the tavern sort of look a bit panicked at this sudden influx of armed men, especially given what's happened during the riots. But of course they just go right through the tavern's drinking room and into that little passageway where you are, where it's all gone quiet. There's a little secret door there. What do you want to do?
I'm going to try opening it, but I'm wincing as I am bleeding quite badly from my arm.
This is unfortunate. I try to wrap your arm a little bit with a bit of bandage, but I don't have any healing spells ready.
Oh, that's a shame. But yes, you can at least make things a little more comfortable, so that's good. So yeah, the door opens on a chamber that is barely large enough for 2 people to stand in. There is a little lantern hanging up on the ceiling, giving you some light in there. On one wall, you can see a shelf that is full of red robes and black leather hoods, but otherwise there's nothing else in here. And if you step inside, you discover there's another door on the other side, but it can't be opened until you've closed the first door.
Is it still silent in here?
I mean, I'm going to say no because it's kind of annoying if it is still silent.
Yeah, I kind of shout out, we're going to have to keep coming and going through the door. Hang on, we'll go first. And I'll wait for Niku and Serban to come in. It's a bit of a tight squeeze. And then close the door and open the other door.
Yes, on the other side is a set of stairs that go down into the depths, but you can see the glimmer of lamplight down there as well, so it looks like this is all set up for people to just come in. It descends to, I'll just tell you now, it descends to a tunnel that forks to left and right. From the passage on the left, am I getting this right? Yeah. Passage on the left, you can you can smell incense and a faint glow. The one on the right is simply...
I think I might at this point cast my Detect Evil, which is the spell I have prepared for today.
What's it like when you cast a spell? Do you have a particular, ritual you do? Do you...
I mutter some words to myself, and I take out some grains from my pocket, and I strew them over the floor around me in a circle, and then I place my hand down along the lines of the circle, and I'm hoping for them to light up these small minerals, almost like, and tell me in which direction and what I might detect.
Yes, they do light up, but in slightly different colours. So down the left passageway, there is something evil. But down the right passageway, the colour of the stones, let's say slightly pale green, indicates the presence of evil thoughts rather than simply an evil creature or being with no thoughts.
There is a more powerful presence down that way, but there is some sort of intention down this side as well. It might be that if we go down there, we might be ambushed from this way.
Well, let's wait for the others to come through, and I've gone to do my best to assist the closing and opening of doors.
Yeah, so you have to sort of ferry people through. So first your companions come in, and then gradually all the guards sort of filter through. And they've all, they're all ready for a fight. But of course, it's quite a narrow squeeze. These are tunnels, so, you have to kind of go first and lead people.
Well, maybe some of you guards should be ready for something to come from the left, while the rest of us go to the right. I'll try and scout ahead a little if I can.
I think it's the other way around.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Then, yeah, the big bad thing, have men ready to fight, and then we go for the less bad things and scout.
We'll go the right way, where there was the evil intentions.
Okay, that makes sense. So, so a few of the guards kind of head down the left passage, cautiously, moving ahead, watching out. But yes, the dark passage. You mentioned you're being cautious, which is good.
Yes.
Because it says here, and they are cautious. Read the following. So from down the passage, gradually as you go around the corner, you now see a glow of some light, and you hear a droning sound. Up ahead is an archway shining with a red light. And as you get closer, you start to be able to see inside this big chamber, which is sort of... at the end, you're kind of coming into the side of the curve of a semicircle, and then the flat side of that kind of extends away to your left into a large vaulted hall. It's got smouldering... It doesn't have lanterns, it has smouldering braziers lighting it. It's all very smoky. And standing along the walls of this room, you can see, all dressed in red robes and black hoods, are 20 people. At the far side of the room is a man with a red and gold robe and a large wooden mask. And it's a full mask, you can't see any of the face. It's not like the hoods where you see the mouth. This one's a complete blank wooden mask. And he's speaking to the crowd. And behind him and this is some classic sword and sorcery, is a large bronze gong. And the master leader says, "Now is our time. The city will lie helpless before us. The people will side with us. Our enemies can be crushed. The Duke will feel our power. Those who oppose us are weak, and we know what to do with traitors." And you hear murmurs and occasional shouts of agreement. "Now take the traitor," and he points to one of the robed men. "He will suffer for disobeying our orders. The woman was not to have died." And at this, all the other masked men move towards the one that's been pointed out, and of course, this robed figure starts, trying to pull away and hopelessly going, "No, no, no!" And, well, they surround him and they're making a growl of rage, and he starts to scream in panic. Do you do anything?
I kind of give Niku a look and mutter under my breath, "If we want to get the jump on them now would be a really good time to do it. No?"
And did any one of the guards come with us, or were they just...
I think maybe, like a good, half of them would have, and your 3 companions are with you, so there's probably 9, 10 of you in total down this tunnel. Does that sound fair? I think so.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit suspicious about what they're saying, that she was not meant to die. Do I recognize the man with the mask, the voice of him?
You do not recognize this voice.
It's clearly an enemy of the Duke's, who would be on his side. Right, so it should be our time to step in and say that this is shut down. I step in and I say, "This meeting is shut down on order of the Duke, and we are here with men representing the houses of this city."
All the robed people turn to look at you, and the one who is a traitor is sort of still struggling feebly but can't quite get away. And the leader was turned away because that allows him to impressively turn back towards you. And he just points towards Niku and says, "Kill him." And the robed men 2 of them are still holding the traitor. The rest of them naturally have those sort of curvy, pointy, bronze-looking daggers that they pull out from their robes, which they were about to use on the traitor. Okay, what do you do, Niku? And, well, I guess all of you could act, because Theodora's just in hiding.
I rush off to get the other guards, to get the ones we sent to the left.
Yes, I was going to... Yes, I was going to shout. I shout, "Guards, friends," and I gesture to the friends of our party. "Time!
Yes.
Have at them!"
So, of course, a classic kind of Hollywood brawl scene initiation starts, where all of your side kind of file into the room and pull swords, and then we start getting lots of swashbuckly ta-tang, tang clashes of metal sounds. Naturally, of course, you will have to do your own part in the fighting. Strictly speaking, by initiative, we should ask Theodora first. But no, I think it makes sense for Theodora to strike as the last in the round, not in an initiative way, but just dramatically. So, Niku, what would you do as your part in this battle? First off.
Well, as we have been going through these passageways, I have unwrapped my mace from its
yes, of course,
foamy, nice, gentle surface, and I try to position myself to the side of my friends as to not leave an opening, and I go to smash the head in of the first of these societal members that I find myself reaching.
Yes. Yeah, very good. One of them charges towards you in classic cultist fanatic style with the dagger upraised. Please give me a d20 roll. Mm-hmm. You're shooting for armor class 9, which is 10 or more.
10 or more. 17.
That'll do it. Give me a d6 roll, please, for your damage.
Right. A 6.
Wow. Smash. You send this person absolutely flying, possibly slightly detaching the head. That's one down.
Aha!
Very impressive. Serban, I think for this first round you have to be probably running down the corridor, shouting for the guards, and then running back. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Yeah, alright, nice. And then so Theodora, you're sort of lurking, yeah, I think in the flickery shadows next to, there's always alcoves in these sinister underground temples. So perhaps you're kind of moving from space to space there. What's your move?
I look around, really excited, scared, adrenaline pumping at this sudden mass battle. I'm going to try and see where's the leader. Is it possible to quickly skulk around and maybe try and come at him from behind?
I think you can give it a go. The leader is mostly, doing that sort of directing thugs thing where he sort of goes, "No, get them," and points, and the cultist sort of runs from where they were lurking near the back and into the fray.
Excellent. Well, in that case, if I can get behind him, I'm going to try and dart forward with my sword that I did, as well. I
think we can assume that you all unwrapped as you came along, and your backstab rule is... plus. So this is 8. He's going to be... Oh, crumbs. Where's his... Yeah, armor class 8, so you are adding +4, but you want 11 or more.
Right.
So 7 or more.
I got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 with the +4.
That's enough. So roll double damage. I would say d6 and then times by 2.
D6 times 2.
I'm feeling very generous, apparently.
That is 5 for 10 damage.
Whoa, okay, this guy had way fewer hit points than I expected. He is dead.
Yes, I kind of just see him. I go round the gong, actually, and I'm just hidden behind that gong.
Good.
And then I just step out, and I just dive straight for him, driving the dagger sword straight through his back. And as it goes through him, I just go, "Ha!"
Yes, he sort of turns round with arms in the same kind of, that sort of hands to heaven posture, but this time it's one of just collapse and falls to his knees, and then just for some reason decides to take the mask off before dying, and there's a smear of blood from his hands, and then you look into his face and you have no idea who this guy is. He just looks at you and goes, "No, I was so close." And then that thing happens where a trickle of blood comes out of the side of his mouth, and then he collapses, and now I make a morale check for the rest of the Veiled Society. Which they pass depressingly. And the guards and your friends are getting the better of the battle as well. Stabbing is happening. A good half dozen of the society members have died already. And to be honest, actually, now that the backup guards are coming... Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I think you still have to deal with this. So, let's go around to a new round, I think. And ask what Serban does. You come in, you can see a murderous-looking Theodora standing on a big stage over the body of a guy in a robe. Niku has just knocked someone's head off, almost. And there's just a huge, completely confusing sword and dagger fight going on in here. So what do you do?
"Move away," I say, and then I put out my hands and I unleash Inferno from my hands, and I cast Burning Hands, and I'm jubilant. My heart sings. I finally get to burn these heathens, and the city will come next, I think to myself.
Yeah, and I've just realised these guys only have 1 hit die each, so you actually might kill quite a few of them. So let me just do a quick random roll, see how many hit points they have. Oh wow, okay, so about half are already dead. Now maybe another 4 just immediately collapse and expire in flames from that Burning Hands arc. And the remaining, I think 4 or 5 are left, just throw their bronzy daggers to the floor and take off their stupid hoods and look all panicky. And you can see these are kind of the idiot second sons of noble houses. They're not fighters. They're not even that smart, and they're just kind of in absolute panic and put their hands up and go, please, we're sorry, we're so very sorry.
I hold a sword to the throat of one of them and go, "That's fine, you'll be surrendering and we're taking you all to the Duke."
And you see me halfway through the sentence of saying, "Burn in righteous fire," with a flask of oil in my hand as if I was ready to follow up on Serban's attack. But as I see Theodoras is stepping up, I'm sort of putting a damper on myself and my mood, and I just say, well, that's that.
To be honest, Niku would notice that in my other hand, I was also going to go for a flaming flask of oil that I've then just stopped.
Yes, we are very similar. Great minds think alike. Time to find out what is in the other chamber.
Yeah, well, it was evil. And what it was is a strange, magical, giant, carnivorous plant called a siren flower that you did very well to avoid. But you can kind of, since you're being cautious, you're able to keep your distance from it and decide, yeah, let's not go down there. But there are some other things to find down here beneath the blue water mead hall. There is a prison cell containing a member of the Duke's Elven Guard who has been kept here for some time. He's very pleased to be released. And there's also a secret chamber that is behind the meeting hall. And this is lit when you get in there by hundreds of sputtering candles. And it looks like there's been a fight in here as well. There is an old man lying on the floor, face down in a pool of blood. He's been stabbed. And when someone flips him over, one of the Vorloi guards goes, That's Karth of Radu!
Who?
One of the senior members of the Radu clan.
There we go! We knew it! They were involved the whole time!
And I just nod. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, it seems this society was stabbing right and left.
It seems there's some kind of disagreement amongst the leaders. But at any rate, the masked fellow that commanded the traitor be put to death is also one of the Radu family. And before long, word gets out, and the Duke has the whole family declared outlaw. But let's wrap this scene up there with you guys having uncovered the heart of the Veiled Society. And maybe let's do some quick epilogues. I think that's always a good way to wrap up a one-shot. Let's go with Theodora. What is Theodora doing a week from now?
Theodora is waving farewell to the village of Blackvale. After all, we were successful. The Duke gave us a quite substantial reward, as well as the family of Vorloi promising to aid our village for some time to come. And I feel that was good enough for me. I'm going to see if I can be employed by the Duke. He said there could be room for someone like me with a keen mind and a good sword hand. Maybe I can do something more interesting. After all, the Duke is looking into expanding his domain into many other lands as well, and other towns, and maybe someone like me could be useful in guarding and, well, I don't really know what I'll be doing, but it's going to be interesting, and I'm fine with that, although I have made sure to say goodbye to Serban and Niku, who I will miss.
Alright, nice. I'm going to ask, what's Niku doing 1 month after the events at the Blue Water?
A month from then, I sit back in the village. I am looking at the enormous pyre that Serban has helped creating. We are doing our weekly burning, as we do, and it's been a few outlaws that we have caught this time, and they're burning nicely on the pyre. Nice smell, a lovely scent of roasting human meat, and I'm looking around happily at the village, how things have turned out, and I turn my little fish on a stick that I have roasting over this huge fire, and looking at my friends and looking at my new wife, whom I met, who was one of the ladies that I was flirting with while helping to carry the things out in the village of Specularum. Turned out that we were meant to be together, and she was herself a member of the Vorloi family who wanted to break off from it all. And we sit there and we share this little spittling fish together.
That's lovely. And then finally, as far into the future as you like, what do we see Serban doing?
Well, it is probably a decade later. Serban has honed her skills, she has grown stronger, but she has not forgotten the promise that she gave to Niku. It is time. And she's looking at the city of Specularum, and at the spellbook filled with all these inferno and fire spells. And it is time for Specularum to burn. The heathens must be punished. And we see Serban marching by herself towards the city, towards a very uncertain destiny, but it will involve fire. Lots and lots of fire. You have listened to a special episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the adventure B6, The Veiled Society, for basic Dungeons & Dragons, using the Blue Home rules. Our Dungeon Master was Tom, from the Emmy Award-winning podcast Fear of a Black Dragon. Check them out and follow the Gauntlet network that they are on, following the link in the show notes. The music was made by Noel, Kobold, Sidereal Fortress, Dungeon Magic, Thongor, Silencio Permanente, with Mara, and the unpronounceable artist from HDK4, and was used with permission from their label Heimat der Katastrophe. Check out their website at heimatderkatastrophe.bandcamp.com for some glorious retro dungeon crawl music. If you want to support Red Moon Roleplaying, do check out our Patreon. The show would not be possible without all the generous support we are getting there. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.